Okay, so thank you. So quite interesting and insightful the analytics you shared. We've seen some of those movements also from our side here at Interswitch. Um, just to start on a more relaxed note, I've put up these three quotations. They are very dear to me. They are quotes from marketing professionals and product design professionals. Um, the first one is from David Newman. And when I say they are very dear to me, it's because they remind me, and I like to believe they should remind every marketing professional continuously of why we are doing what we are doing. Right. So when you look to the left, the first one from David Newman. David Newman was saying that email has ability many channels don't, creating valuable personal touches at scale. Now, I need you to underline the word personal touch, right? It's one of the central things to email marketing, its ability to give some personal touch. Okay. Now, when you then look at Eric Harbison, he was saying that if social media is a cocktail party, then email marketing is the meetup for coffee, the original one-to-one channel. So when you now marry the two statements, what David Newman was saying and what Eric is saying about email marketing, one thing is common, which is that the channel almost presupposes that it is a personal communication. And so the person you are trying to reach on that channel is expecting an experience that speaks to that, an experience that is personal, right? He knows that you are sending the same email you are sending to him to many people, but the experience he wants to get is the experience that I'm your only customer, I'm the only one you are talking to. And so when you then look down at what Andrew Mignolo is saying. She's a product design person. She said, and she's saying this from a customer angle. Now, the first two people were speaking from a marketing professional angle. This is somebody speaking from a customer angle now, saying that I want to do business with a company that treats emailing me as a privilege, not a transaction. So what that means in essence is that um, although businesses are in business to make money, but the customer does not want you to slam it to her face that you want her to buy every time. So, CK, can you move to the next slide? Um, so that when we have, next slide, please. When we have that understanding, it then begins to give us an idea of why it's a bit difficult to communicate to customer during the COVID-19 period or the lockdown or a disaster period like this, as it were. One of the challenges of communicating at this time is that there is every tendency that your communication can get drowned in the volume of communications that are going out because everybody is saying the same thing, and the chances of survival of a communication that is not going in that direction, it's very slim. It's most likely not going to survive. Now, the fear of that first challenge then brings the second challenge, which is you then begin to run the risk of not wanting to appear as being insensitive, during a period when people are going through tough time, people are going through hard time. And now the fear of not wanting to appear as being insensitive has a tendency to lead you into another fear, which is the fear of not the risk of not doing anything at all. And that's why CK mentioned that a lot of brands are of the position that they want to communicate less because they feel customers should not be getting a lot of communication at this time. Now, that's the risk of trying to avoid being insensitive playing out. But then the question is, how do we balance out all of this risk factor and still be able to break through the noise to communicate to our customers. Just to give you a quick insight, if you like, before I go into how we balance that, is to say that if you've been observant, you will discover that during this COVID-19 period, actually communication has gone through different different era or different stages. Now, one of the things you really want to avoid as a communication professional is to get stuck at communicating what as communicating something. Meanwhile, the trend of communication and customer engagement has moved to the next thing. Now, if you remember, when we were about to go on this lockdown, when the case was becoming big, the first thing that businesses were doing was communicating their continuity plans. And you remember that a lot of businesses that tried to market to their customers during that period, they got their fingers burnt because the customers were of the opinion that, look, at this time, I'm not interested in what you want to sell to me. I'm interested in how your business is going to survive now that everywhere is going on lockdown. And so if you were not communicating, your communication is not meeting with what is going on at that time, chances are that you're going to get your finger burnt. And the same thing has happened over time. Communication has metamorphosed. So from business continuity, we move to understanding and empathy. So after a while, people were no longer interested in what your business is going to do to survive. They're interested in whether you understand what is going on and whether you understand how they feel. Then it moves to a stage of self-consciousness where people are interested in, do you have any advice on how I can be saved or how my family can be saved? And then it moved away from that era to the era of solution. Okay, there came a time when we said, okay, look, we've come to a conclusion that this problem is social distancing. And then everybody started talking about social distancing. If at the time of people talking about social distancing, you are talking about something else, chances that people are going to listen to you is very slim. And right now, as we speak, communication is moving away from social distancing. Now, it's not moving away entirely. It's in between social distancing communication and social distancing remedy. In other words, people are not exactly as interested in you telling them that social distancing is the solution as much as they are interested in social distancing is like a drug that has a side effect. What is your remedy as a business? That's what you should communicate to me. That's what you should sell to me. If you're not selling that, I'm not ready to listen. I need a survivor tactics. Chooks, can you move to the next slide? So, which then brings me to how we balance out things. Next slide, please. How do we balance out things? I'm just going to run quickly through these 5 things that I do that inform communication, and then I'm going to show you a couple of examples of how we've applied that and how you can apply it too. The first one is that it is important that you understand trend and tell customer exactly what they want to hear. So I just showed you that there has been different stages in the communication, and it's important that you are not stuck at a stage that customer have moved past. Okay, so it's important that you understand the trend, know exactly what is the agenda, the media agenda at that time, and get your way into that agenda and find a way to differentiate yourself. Very important. Second thing that is very important in your communication is show empathy. Put yourself in the customer's shoe. Okay. Ask yourself, this communication I want to send out, I'm experiencing the same thing this customer is experiencing. What exactly do I really want at this time? Now, the customer is most likely going to want the same thing. So how do I control the narrative such that he's able to deliver that experience to the customer? Okay. Then beyond that, the next one, which is very important, not even during the COVID pandemic, but even before the pandemic, is that it is important that you treat your subject line like a movie trailer. And I don't know about any other person, but usually when I want to watch a movie on Netflix, the first thing I do is to go see the movie trailer. Now, if it's interesting, I'm most likely going to see that movie. Now, sometimes there is a tendency that the guy will just grab the most interesting part of the movie and make it into trailer and deceive you into watching the movie. Now, usually you find it disgusting, okay? Which is what brings me to the fourth one, that it's important that you make your subject line like a movie trailer. But then it's also important that you take control of the narrative and make sure that the content that is going to support that subject line is tight. Usually they say don't judge a book by the cover. But the truth is, if the cover of the book is looking tacky and is looking funny, chances that you're going to look inside is very slim. But then if the cover is very attractive and then you get inside, only to discover that the content inside is messy, the problem is you are not only going to get disgusted, chances that you are going to tell others that it's a very terrible book is very high. So if you get it right during subject line and you are not able to sustain it during your actual storyline, it's more dangerous than when your subject line is terrible in the first place. So if your subject line is terrible and somebody pity you and open the email all the same, now he's not going to be too disappointed when he finally read the content. The final one is that it's important that you make it believable. The customers, they are very intelligent. They are not stupid. You have to stay true to what you are promising. It's very, very important. Chooks, next slide. I just want to show some of these things in practice. Next slide, please. Chooks. CK, next slide. Okay, so if you look at this slide, I talked about showing empathy and understanding trends. Now, if you look at these two emails, the one on the left was the first one we sent in the series. Now, we sent this email. The email says, hello, first name. Okay, let me put my first name. Hello, Tayo. Are you home? Now, if you look at this, it was sent during the early period of the lockdown when people were struggling with the idea of the lockdown. They want to go out. It was a call to the people to be socially responsible, telling them that the lockdown is not easy, but neither is the disease. And not only were we telling them about that, but we were bringing it into the context of showing them that we feel the same way they feel. But if we feel the same way they feel, how come we don't want to go out, even though they are feeling tempted to go out? And the truth is, we are as tempted as they are, but how are we coping with it? And we were providing the solution of how we're coping with it. And we were able to then infuse some of our brand assets, or if you like, some of our product, right, into that solution. So we weren't selling our product, we were selling a solution to their predicament. It is very important. So the customer doesn't want your product. The customer wants a solution. And that's what we're doing. We're selling a solution to their predicament. If you look at the second one came during the second half. No, go back to the first slide. I'm still on this slide. The second one, the second email to the right. CK, just go back one more slide. Go back to the previous slide. That email, if you look at it, says it's another 14 days. Now, it came during the second half of the lockdown. And what we were saying then is to say, we put ourselves in the customer's shoe. This guy is locked down for 3 weeks now, okay? In 3 weeks, what would have happened to him? In 3 weeks, he would have depleted his financial reserve. So what should we be telling him? So if you look at the current slide, it's you see two emails. One is before, I wouldn't say before the COVID, but before the pandemic became very serious. The other one was during the heat of the pandemic. Now, these two emails, they are addressing the same thing. As a matter of fact, the two emails are targeted at the same campaign happening at two different times. It's our happy hour campaign. Now, the first one, like I said, happened before earlier in February. Now, what happened is we deployed the communication to the people to say that they stand a chance of getting free subscription when they hop on this campaign, and if they are the fastest finger in the process. Same mechanics. But when it got to the second one, we then discovered that, look, it was at a period where there were the number of COVID-19 cases kept increasing every day, and it was just bad news everywhere you turn. And that's why you see the title of that one is "Here is One Good News to Cheer You Up." Now, the idea is to give the people hope. You can see how we try to reconcile. So even though it's the same campaign, the same mechanics, but the way we communicated them was different. Were different. Why? Because of the season. We were being sensitive to the period. We needed to provide solution to the people during the period, and that's why you see the difference. CK, if it's possible, if you can just move it one final slide. I believe that's the concluding slide. Just to show a learning. So while CK is trying to move it, so if you look at that final slide is essentially series of comments from people, about our emails and all of that. But then there is the final slide that was talking about series of comments about the COVID-19. Now, the interesting thing about those comments is if you look at the series of comments, like CK said, we're going to share this slide with you. I think it's having some delay in moving the slide, so I'm just going to talk through them and give you an idea of what we trying to achieve. The other side of the content, you see a list of comments that looked almost the same. Now, here is what we did to say that people that won from this campaign, we then send them email, right, notifying them that they won. But then what we did with the call to action for that email was to then configure a preset content that they can share on their social media platform. So the problem we've noticed over time is that customer wants to talk to other customers about your brand. But then you should also understand that it's a lot of work for the customer to go out of his way, sit down, compose the message that he wants to use to advertise your brand. So the lesson is it's important that we make it easier for customers to be able to engage other customers on our business.
Here are some things that you think about your customers. Number 3, stay away from repetitive messages said in different ways. So I guess my voice is fading again. That is happening. So try not to repeatedly, like, oh, we are closing during the lockdown, and you now see another message, our doors are shut during the lockdown. Then you see another message, in a different way, right? So don't be saying the same message over and over again. It's a little bit annoying. And also, sell your products. Don't sell your products without contextual value. So, like, especially for the banks, there's a lot of digital products that they have. So this is the time for you to sell those products, but make sure you equate the value to the current period of what is happening. Then the second thing is, do not ignore your statistics for your email marketing. So and this is, do not stop selling if your business cannot. Spoke about that. He spoke about not stopping sending communications just because your business is not going. So here are some things that you should do. The first thing, always offer value to your customers. So you can see this email campaign from CVS Pharmacy. So they are explaining how their business has adapted to lockdown situation and how their customers can reach them. So they are literally selling their services, but however, they are doing it contextually to this situation. The second thing, be authentic in the way you offer tips. So look at this brand. This brand, so everybody is crying about the misinformation and the fake news that has been going on with COVID, right? So I've seen some brands send some information like, do not believe fake news and all that, right? But I think this brand did something cool. They actually created an ebook that talks about the facts about COVID, thereby filtering the facts from the fiction. So this is another thing that you can do. Next thing, be mindful of your audience. So for the non-engaged users, do not send them communications repeatedly because they are not engaged, right? So be mindful of your audience. Next thing, monitor your delivery and domain health. So see, the lockdown is temporary distorting businesses, right? But it's not temporarily distorting email servers, okay? So now, what I'll say to you is this. You see, some people are pushing out emails back and forth. They are not checking about their open rates, right? The laws for Gmail and Yahoo still exist in email engagements, okay? So since the law still exists, you should and domain health. Second thing, think outside the box. This is one of my best campaigns this period. Actually, Domino's was the first restaurant I got the courage, or in Nigeria they say I got the liver to order from since this lockdown, because they shared a message of zero contact delivery. What an awesome message. What they are trying to say is this, right? We are not putting contact between us and our pizza, so it is safe, right? So Domino's could have written one long mail saying that in response to COVID, our business is rapidly changing and yada yada, but they thought outside the box, and this is how they presented that information. The next thing, decide if the communication is essential. I know that I'm going to be shaking some tables by making this, but towards the beginning of the COVID pandemic, I actually received a lot of non-essential communication. And some of them were basically so texty and wordy. Like, look at this one I'm showing you. This is a very long message, right? We could have done it better. Pictures speak louder than words, right? So I think this is something brands should do. Before you communicate to people, decide if the communication is essential. Be sensitive to your customers. The next thing, personalize the message. So we've spoken severally on personalization and how personalization has been able to increase open rates and engagement rates. So look at this email sample to your right. I have done, if you notice, I have done 2 levels of personalization. The first level of personalization I did is that I mentioned the customer by their name. So I said, dear Chukudi. But in marketing, that was the first stage of personalization. So that is like the Cyrillac of personalization. If you want to go to a more advanced diet of personalization, you can see the first sentence that says, because we know as a savings account holder, you are concerned with judicious use of your funds. So you are sending this email telling the person, I know your name and I'm sending you this email because you have taken this product with us. So that is how you do advanced personalization. Next thing, automated emails are the best. So what is automated emails? An automated email differs from a broadcast email in the sense that the email is triggered by the customer's behavior. Matter of fact, in digital marketing, we actually say that the customer actually is primed to receive the message because the customer did something, then got the message. How many of you check your transaction alerts? I'm sure you check your transaction alerts a lot more than bank promotional emails because transaction alerts happen when you do something. So seek to trigger email. So this is an example, right? Somebody visits your loan page on your website and you tell the person, we know that lockdown is hard. Applying for a loan does not have to be that difficult. What would you like to do? Because you cannot assume that the person automatically knew what to do to complete the process, or that your website platform is 100% fantastic, that the user experience, they must complete it. So if you are tracking whether the person completes the form, you can send the person an email if they don't complete the form. This kind of cross-channel engagement is possible with SmartTech. See another one. This is a good example for banking. So somebody is about to do a transaction, and when it gets to the point, maybe they are supposed to enter their PIN, they leave the transaction. Then again, if you are using a platform like SmartTech and you have your mobile app integrated, you can tell the platform, if anybody doesn't complete the payment process, push out this mail to the person. So you can see the contextual mail that I've sent to the person. See, this is very important because people want to receive messages that they are doing something or happens when they are doing something, because right now in the lockdown, there is a flux and overflow of communication to the customer. Then also consider the periodic trend of your subscribers. So the first thing I'm showing you, the first graph I'm showing you here is the time-wise trend. So like I said, the time-wise trend has changed. So you can see that the most engaging time is from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Next one is 4 to 5, and the other one is 8 to 9 a.m. If you can send your mails at this time, would that not be better? You know that you get maximum engagement from your database. The next thing is the day trends of your subscribers. Like I said, the days are gone where you have maximum engagement on Saturday and Sunday. And I'll tell you a curious statistic. So we found out that 35% or 40% of the emails that went out in 2019, they went out on a Friday. Okay, so that means, so for those of us who are in organizations listening here, if you think you are the only one sending communications on Friday, you are part of a large party of people, right? Or a large party of companies. So, but behavior actually caused mass engagements to happen on a Saturday. But guess what? Brands are still sending a lot of emails on Friday, but engagement has dropped massively on Saturday. So if you look at this data, we now see that Thursday and Friday is the new best days. So send your emails between Wednesdays and Fridays. Then the last thing I'm going to talk about is heartbeat campaigns. So if we have any travel company that is here, travel companies, unfortunately, I really sympathize with them. I think that they are really feeling the brunt of this global lockdown, right? Now, but there's something you need to be careful about. Do not stop your email campaigns. Why do I say this? So if you look at the way Gmail, which is the most popular mail platform for Nigerian users, work, if a brand does not send an email for like 2 months and you have 1 million customers, 2 months later, if you want to send to 1 million customers, your domain reputation will be hampered. You are going to get low inboxing. So many things will happen to you because according to Gmail, your IP addresses are being cooled down, or maybe they think you're out of business. So, travel companies, you need to create a marketing strategy where during this period, you are using your intuitive communications to talk to your clients and make sure that you are reaching out to your database at least once a week. That is what we call a heartbeat campaign. It's a campaign that you use to maintain the health of your domain, just like a human heartbeat. So try to create a strategy. Travel companies, start creating strategies of how you'll be reaching out to all your customers once a week with innovative communication. So when the lockdown is over, you don't find yourself in a scenario wherein you cannot communicate to your mass customers on email, or you have to do a warm-up for 3 months before you start, because you've already lost a lot of business. So we need to make sure that when this is over, we hit the ground running. So a little bit more on email automation, which I said I'll talk about. First thing about it is that it is all about real-time communication, okay? Your communication has to be in real time. So if you look at the diagram on the right, it's showcasing how the Smart Tech platform can create customer journeys based on what the customer does. If anybody is into software development or has been, you understand that this is a workflow. Next thing, onboarding series are key this period. So for the banking, finance, insurance customers, 2 months ago, I opened a bank account. If I want to know more about the bank account I just opened, I can easily walk into one of the numerous branches of the bank, meet an account officer, ask my questions. Now I cannot move. So therefore, it's very important for brands to have what is called an onboarding series. An onboarding series is a series of communication you give to your new customers so that they can understand the services and products you provide and the value that you can provide for them. So most of our network clients are banking clients. So I've given banking examples. So this is a bank, right? You open a bank account after 2 days, which is T+2, you get a welcome email and something to download your app. On the 5th day, maybe you can sell your banking chatbots on email, on browser push notification, or app push notification. On the 9th day, sell your card services. Tell them that, hey, you can get a card with us. This is how you get a card. If some banks are redeeming cards virtually, do not assume somebody has opened an account and knows that he can get a card, right? You send that person that message with the value the card has to offer. 2 weeks into it, You can tell the person, hey, refer a friend because you love our product so much.